Hi, I'm Sean Dickinson, and I'll be covering the history of the Heian period, so what happened before. Um, Before the Heian period was the Nara period. It's currently called, it's called the Nara period because currently the city where the capital is moved was Nara. However, at the time it was called Hijokyo. At the time, a large majority of the population were extremely poor, and they were mostly agriculturists. Um, and there was a series of misfortune. This included famines and plagues. Um, and in an attempt to turn the morale and the luck of the country around, the emperor at the time, Shomu, built a number of temples and monuments. These were primarily Buddhist monuments. Um, However, in order to fund these monuments, and because his advisors were primarily wealthy individuals in society at the time, they recommended taxing the poor, and they overtaxed the poor, and this led to just incredible public disdain for the government and numerous rebellions. Eventually, Shomu ran the government dry, and they ended up moving the capital to Kyoto, to what we now call Kyoto, and beginning the Heian period.
My name is Aiden Villarreal, and I'm doing religion in the Heian period. So, some religious background. So, the Heian period is the second period after Buddhism is introduced to Japan. So, Buddhism is still a relatively new religion. It's only a couple hundred years old. And early on in the Heian period, Japan was in close contact with China. So, during this time, China had sent their own Buddhist monks with their own interpretations of Buddhism to Japan to basically spread awareness and their teachings. So these were called esoteric Buddhism. There were two types, Tendai and Shingon. So they both had the same ideas, the same concepts, but their teachings and how to achieve enlightenment were different. So Tendai was more about spirituality. They focused more about exploring your own spirituality and yourself through self-reflection and meditation. Shingon was a little bit different. So they studied more the sacred texts of Buddha. So they told everyone to do more of the sacred rituals, the use of the three mysteries, Buddhahood in the body. So if Tendai was more about your own spirituality, Shingon was more about um, how you can participate in the sacred teachings of Buddha, on your time on Earth. So because of this big booming of religions, it's all Buddhism, but there's a lot of different subsections. There's Buddha from India, Buddha from China, and their own little new ones that are happening in Japan. So a lot of the art depicted these religions and their concepts, their deities, in like paintings, statues, and tall tales. They all just talked about the different religions. So one of these are the Taizokai Mandara. So this is a scroll with multiple pieces of art. This is specifically the womb world. Womb world was the universe in Buddhism. It contains the 12 dimensions of Buddhist nature and their deities, and they're organized from importance and significance. So in the middle, there's Buddha. Around him are the eight Buddhas, and they're making a little red lotus flower, which represents the never-ending compassion within all people. And then around them are the other dimensions with their own respective deities. All the colors stand out. Most of the time, they use pale colors, but these are all very bright, very colorful. They all have serene expressions. They're all in 2D, and they're more or less naturalistic. And there's the legend of Mount Shigi. So again, this is on a scroll. Here, if you notice, they have more pale colors. They're all watercolors. They're more opaque. Nothing stands out except for the black ink that's around everyone. And they're more cartoonish. The people are less naturalistic. They have large gaping mouths. They have big noses. Not very detailed. However, the buildings and the structures are very detailed. So, in this piece of art, it tells the tale about three monks that are lifting a bowl of rice through the power of faith, basically with their mind, and they're performing a miracle. So everyone's running around, they're dancing, they're very happy at the sight of this miracle. And I think this is very important to show how much religion has had an impact on the culture during the Heian period, because it's basically everywhere. There's always some sort of religious meaning, and it's almost like propaganda in a way of just showing people, their religions and like, oh, look at this miracle that happened and all that. So I think it's just a way for people to process all these different types of religions that are happening and for them to learn about it easier and interpret it a lot easier.
Next up, we'll be talking about the way that the government influenced the Heian period. Looking back on the Heian period, we see that the aristocrats had great influence over the society during this time. Their influence reached very far politically, giving them power that rivaled that of the emperor. One of the most influential groups during this time period would be the Fujiwara clan. Rather than assuming power through military conquest, they were able to keep a lot of power by putting members of their clan into office. An article by the Metropolitan Museum of Arts states that they are able to keep their power by marrying female clan members to emperors and by having positions such as regents rule on the behalf of these offsprings once they took the throne. The Phoenix Hall is a good representation about the amount of wealth and power that the Fujiwara clan had during this time period. Before later being converted to a Buddhist temple, the Phoenix Hall originally was a villa for one of the most powerful Fujiwara clan members. His position was the regent, which served as almost like an advisor to the emperor. Often serving as the real power behind the throne, the regent made many decisions that were able to keep the rich in power. Looking closer at the Phoenix Hall, we see how the beauty and intricacy of the Phoenix Hall reflects the Fujiwara's clan's immense wealth during this time period.
Culture. During the time of the Heian period, Japanese culture and art blossomed into a unique Japanese style. The field of literacy in Japan made great strides in prevalence due to the invention of hiragana, which is a phonetic script that exacerbated the development of Japanese literature. Painting and calligraphy also thrived under the influence of Buddhist themes. The type of clothing worn during the era became unique, particularly among the elite, with a conglomerate layering system called kunihito becoming prevalent among noble women. The style composed of a 12-layered robe with an array of colors and patterns, which mirrors the wearer's class in society. The Tale of Genji culture. A work of art that perfectly represents the culture of the Heian period is the novel The Tale of Genji. This period of time in Japanese history was renowned for its works of literature, and one of its most famous novels was The Tale of Genji. It is the world's first novel and was written by the noblewoman Murasaki Shikibu. Women during the Heian period had restricted rights in the political sphere, but were heavily active in the literacy space, writing poems and novels such as The Tale of Genji. The work provides a deep insight into life in the aristocracy at the time. It sheds light on the values of the aristocrats as well as their fashion sense and their daily lives.
Howdy, my name is Demi Ferguson, and my part in the High-End Period project discusses the difference in gender roles and women during this time period. So, at the start of the High-End Period, gender roles of men and women began taking a drastic turn. The structure of this time period led to a need for labeling forms of expression in paintings and writings to help further suggest that there was a social counterpart. One result of this separation leads to evidence of different painting styles between men and women. Women were seen as more feminine figures, which led to their painting styles being labeled as ane, which essentially just means feminine or female. The bottom left painting is a female painting that depicts a household happening. It was used with vibrant colors and flowers to show the more feminine style of female art. The upper right painting is a more masculine piece of art that is known as otoko, and otoko just means male or masculine. Um, it's an otoko style of painting. The painting was used with more non-layered pigments and heavier brush strokes, highlighting the style of art that was used by more male artists during the Heian period. And then the very end is just our bibliography with our cited sources. Thank you.